In this video, we're going to multiply radicals. So there's not a lot to this section. All we just literally are doing is just multiplying these things out. So let's just jump in with the problem. So let's say we have -2 square root of 7 times -2 square root of 14. Okay. So what we're going to do is basically straight up just multiply them. So if you have a -2 here, whoops, -2 and -2, that's going to give me a +4. And then what's going to be under the square root? Well, under the square root, you're going to get a 7, and then you're going to multiply this by a 14. Now, I usually don't multiply them because later on, you're going to have to simplify it a little bit more. So let's break it down. So you have 4 square root of 7. I can decompose this 14 as a 7 times a 2. Okay, and notice that I can take out a pair of 7s. Okay, so I'm left with 4 times 7 square root of 2. 4 times 7 is going to give me 28, and this is going to be square root of 2. Okay, and that is my final answer. 28 square root of 2. Okay, so not a lot to it, but let's continue doing more problems like these. So here's another example. Let's say we have 5. The cubed root of 3x cubed times 3 times the cubed root of 18x cubed. Okay, so you can try this out if you want. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and do it in a little bit. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is just multiply the 5 and the 3. The 5 and the 3 is just going to give me a 15. And now let's put everything underneath this cubed root. So you have a 3 here. You also have an 18. You have an x cubed, and you have another x cubed. Okay, so I'm gonna keep everything under the cubed root. So I have the 15, and now let's decompose everything so that I can take a couple things out. Okay, so 3 is gonna stay the same. This 18 it can be decomposed as 6 and 3, and then this as 3 and 2. So basically, I have a 3, a 2, and a 3. A 3, a 2, and another 3. And then I have 3x's here, and then I have another 3x's. Okay, so that's what I have. So let's take things out. So in this case, I'm looking for triplets. So here's a triplet of 3's. So I'm going to take that out. I have a triplet of x's. I'm going to take that other out. I'm going to take another triplet of x's. I'm going to take that out. So I'm left with a 15. I got a triplet of 3's, I got a triplet of x's, and another triplet of x's. And what's left under the cubed root? I'm left with just, I think it's just a 2. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so now all I gotta do is take 15 times 3. That's gonna give me 45. X squared cubed root of 2. Okay, and that is my final answer. Okay. All right, so there's not a lot of things to it. One thing that you could have done is maybe decompose it from the very beginning and take out a couple x's. That also could have helped out a lot more, but it doesn't really matter. You can do it this way too. The order doesn't really matter here. Okay, let's do another type of problem. Okay, that tends to appear a little bit more. So let's do h minus the square root of 2 times 3 plus the square root of 2. Okay, so here what we have two different radical expressions that look very different. There's now a sign in the middle, but if you remember, this kind of looks like something that looks like this, like x plus 2, x minus 3. And the way that you do these, you can actually FOIL things out. So if you remember FOIL, this is what we're going to be doing. So first we're going to take this 8, multiply it by this 3. That's the first one. That's the first term. Okay, so that's going to give me 24. Then we're going to take this 8, and now we're going to multiply it by the second one. That's going to give me a plus 8 square root of 2. Okay. Then we're going to take this next one, and we're going to multiply it by this 3. So we're going to have minus 3 square root of 2. And then this square root of 2 times the square root of 2. This minus and plus is going to turn into a minus square root of 4. Okay, so notice a couple things that I did. A couple things is that when you're multiplying regular numbers like 8 and 3, you got a 24. However, when you're multiplying an 8 and the square root of 2, you don't multiply the 8 and the 2 because this 8 and the square root of 2, you don't have a square root. If this had a square root, if the 8 had a square root, then it would be the square root of 16. But it doesn't, so it's just going to be 8 and then square root of 2. That's all it is. Okay? So that's how we had it. Same thing here. We had a square root of 2 times a 3. They're just going to be attached to each other. 3 square root of 2. It cannot go inside the house. This one, since both of these have houses, that's how I like to think about it. A square root of 2 and a square root of 2, I can go ahead and multiply them to get a square root of 4. Okay? So what is this going to give me? This is going to give me 24. These two are like terms. So this 8 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 2 is going to give me positive 5 square root of 2. The square root of 4 is just going to give me 2, so it's minus 2. Okay, and then finally, I can just combine the 24 and the minus 2. That's going to give me 22 plus 5 square root of 2. Okay, and that's going to be my final answer. All right, so let's try another one just like that one. So let's say you had 7 plus square root of 3 times 5 minus square root of 3. So why don't you try it out and see if you can do it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing that we're gonna do, let's FOIL this out. 7 times 5, that's gonna give me a 35. 7 times negative square root of 3, that's going to be negative 7 square root of 3. Then the middle portions, square root of 3 times 5, that's going to give me a positive 5 square root of 3. And then square root of 3 times square root of 3 is going to give me a square root of 9. And then there's a positive and a negative, so it's going to be a negative square root of 9. Okay? So let's simplify this a little bit. 35. The middle terms is just going to be minus 2 square root of 3. The last one's going to be a minus 3 because the square root of 9 is just a 3. Okay, then 35 minus 3. That's going to give me a 32 minus 2 square root of 3. Okay, and that is my final answer. These are not like terms, so you cannot do anything. Okay, let's do one last problem. Okay, so let's say we had the cubed root of x minus 5 times the cubed root of x minus 3. Okay, so you can go ahead and try to do these if you want. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into them. Okay, so let me FOIL these out. So I have here the cubed root of x times another cubed root of x. So if you want, let me write it out like this. So you have two of them, this times this. That's why I have it there. Okay, now the second portion, which is this part, is going to be minus 3 cubed root of x. Okay. The middle part, minus 5 cubed root of x. And then the last one, negative 5 times negative 3 is going to give me a positive 15. Okay. Now notice here you have two of these. You have x to the first power times x to the first power. That's going to give me x to the second power. So I have the cubed root of x squared. Now this portion, negative 3 and then negative 5 is going to give me a negative 8 cubed root of x because those are like terms. Now this one is just going to stay by itself, plus 15. This is my final answer because even though these two things have a cubed root, they don't have the same radicand. This one has an x squared, this one has an x, so you cannot combine them. Okay? That's all there is to multiplication. In the next video, we're going to do division and rationalization.